Are we staring at an end of the Abraham Accords? I ask that question because 3 years after Israel, the UAE and the US shook hands and agreed to normalize Arab-Israeli ties, peace in West Asia feels like a pipe dream. In fact, 3 years ago when the Accords were signed, the sands were shifting. The Accords set the stage for relations between Israel and the Arab world to emerge and flourish. And there were some major gains. Israel and the UAE signed a free trade agreement. They signed pacts in an array of areas, including medicine, bilateral investment, and space travel. Emirati Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan even visited Jerusalem in the year 2022. At a symbolic level as well, the picture of bin Zayed laying a wreath at Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center, was a historic moment. And then a summit in Israel brought together the foreign ministers from the UAE, Bahrain, Egypt, Morocco, and the United States. Even Turkey improved ties with Israel in the wake of the Accords. It showed how much Israel's strategic position had actually improved. Now today, all the work and progress stands to be wiped out. As the Gaza war continues, Israel faces global isolation. Its closest ally and one of the biggest proponents of the Abraham Accords, the US, too does not know what to do with Israel. US President Joe Biden has issued an ultimatum to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu: protect the civilians or we stop support. And what's more, after months of criticizing Israel over the Gaza assault, the UAE is also reportedly cutting ties with Israel. According to multiple reports, Abu Dhabi has decided to halt all bilateral coordination with Israel on moving humanitarian aid. The UAE is taking a stand. The question is, will other Arab countries follow? Only a few years ago, the US had achieved a big foreign policy achievement. It got the Arab countries and Israel to sign the Abraham Accords. It was signed at the White House in the year 2020. It marked a significant shift in the geopolitical landscape of West Asia. The primary countries involved in the Accords included Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco. The signing of the Accords was significant because it would establish full diplomatic ties between Israel and the rest of the signatories. It was supposed to end Israel's isolation in the Arab world. It was supposed to improve Israel's relations with its neighbors. It was supposed to help cement Israel's place as a regional heavyweight. But you see, the Accords ignored the elephant in the room: Palestine. And 3 years later, no one can ignore the elephant in the room. For decades, the US has pushed a two-state solution to the conflict, but has not formally recognized an independent Palestinian state. And now the US has started talking about offering a pathway to a Palestinian state as the best way to stabilize the wider region and isolate Iran and its proxies. And it's worth mentioning here that before the war, even Saudi Arabia was on the cusp of advancing normalization talks with Israel. As recently as in September 2023, in fact, the Crown Prince and the Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, was talking about reaching a normalization deal with Israel. But it's important to note, the Saudi Prime Minister was never half-hearted in his endorsement of an independent Palestinian state. The demand for a Palestinian state was and remains Saudi Arabia's official position as a condition for normalizing ties with Israel. Even the US President Joe Biden touted Saudi Arabia's support for the Abraham Accords as a major foreign policy accomplishment for Washington. But October 7, 2023 changed all of that. The Gaza war forced Saudi Arabia to take a step back. Even the US, which in the first few months of the Gaza war gave Israel all its support, has now changed its position. After 6 months of the war, Israel under Benjamin Netanyahu stands completely isolated. Not even his staunchest ally has his back anymore. Israel's current assault in Gaza is unprecedented. Just look at the condition of Gaza. The pictures on your screen will tell you the complete story. Civilians in Gaza have been rendered homeless, on the streets, starving, suffering, and grieving. More than 33,000 Palestinians have died, according to the health ministry in Gaza, of which most were women and children. As the world remains shocked at what's happening in Gaza, Biden issued an ultimatum to Netanyahu on Thursday. He told Israel basically to protect Palestinian civilians and the foreign aid workers in Gaza, or Washington will be forced to rein in support for Israel. And this ultimatum from America is new. For months, they have asked Israel to change its military tactics, but after an Israeli attack on Monday killed 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers, Washington was forced to threaten Israel.
What we want to see are some real changes on the Israeli side. If we don't see changes from their side, there'll have to be changes from our side. But I won't preview what that could look like. Now,
the White House has not said what it will do if Israel fails, but analysts told news agency Reuters that this is as close to a come-to-Jesus moment as you can get. Will this be a turning point in the West Asia conflict, is the question. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.